Marianne has never been good at hiding her feelings. For a while, there seems to be no reason she should. Willoughby appears to enjoy her company as much as she enjoys his. They spend hours together reading, walking, discussing music, sharing opinions about books and poetry, and laughing at the same things. To almost everyone watching them, the relationship seems obvious. It does not feel like the beginning of a romance. It feels like a romance already in progress. Marriage begins to seem inevitable. That certainty is exactly what Jane Austen wants readers to question. One of the quiet warnings throughout Sense and Sensibility is how easily confidence can be mistaken for truth. The more certain people become about what another person feels, the easier it becomes to ignore the information they do not have. Marianne does not seriously question Willoughby's intentions because she sees no reason to. His attention appears constant. His affection seems obvious. Their interests seem perfectly matched. In Marianne's mind, the emotional truth of the relationship is enough. She believes that because the connection feels genuine, the future must be equally certain. Then Willoughby announces that he is leaving for London. The news comes suddenly, and Marianne is devastated. However, what matters most is not simply that Willoughby leaves, but how he leaves. There is no engagement, no clear promise, no definite plan for their future. The relationship that everyone assumed was moving toward marriage suddenly has no official direction at all. Marianne refuses to believe that Willoughby's departure changes anything. There must be a reason. Perhaps circumstances forced him to leave. Perhaps someone else influenced his decision. Perhaps he will return soon, and everything will continue exactly as before. Hope begins filling every empty space where facts should be. This is one of Jane Austen's sharpest observations about heartbreak. When people do not have answers, they often create their own explanations. And the explanations they create are usually the ones that hurt the least. Marianne believes Willoughby loves her. Because of that belief, every unexplained action must somehow fit into the story she has already created. His absence cannot mean rejection because that possibility is too painful to accept. Eleanor sees the situation differently. She does not accuse Willoughby of deception because she does not know enough to make that judgment. But she recognizes something Marianne does not want to admit. Feelings have moved ahead of facts. Marianne has built an entire future around a relationship that was never formally defined. Eleanor worries about her sister, but she is about to experience a private heartbreak of her own. Edward Ferrars has remained in Eleanor's thoughts. Their relationship has always been quieter than Marianne and Willoughby's. There were no dramatic displays of affection, no obvious courtship, and no public expectation that a proposal was coming. Instead, Eleanor's feelings developed through small moments. She noticed Edward's kindness, his intelligence, his thoughtful nature. She paid attention to the way he spoke and the way he treated others. Although she rarely expressed these feelings openly, Eleanor had begun imagining that their relationship might eventually become something more. Then Lucy Steele enters the story. At first, Lucy does not appear especially important. She is friendly, talkative, and interested in Eleanor. Austen introduces her quietly, without immediately revealing that Lucy is about to completely change Eleanor's understanding of Edward. When Lucy asks to speak with Eleanor privately, she reveals a secret that changes everything. She has been engaged to Edward Ferrars for years. The revelation destroys the future Eleanor had quietly imagined. Edward is not free. According to Lucy, he has already promised himself to someone else. Lucy does not simply reveal the engagement. She asks Eleanor to keep it secret. For Eleanor, this creates an almost unbearable situation. She is heartbroken, but she cannot explain why. She cannot tell Marianne what has happened. She cannot openly question Edward. She cannot discuss Lucy's secret with anyone around her. Instead, she must continue behaving as though nothing has changed. This is where many readers begin to understand Eleanor in a different way. Her calmness is not effortless, and her self-control does not mean that she feels less deeply. In fact, Eleanor's restraint often hides just how much she is carrying. Every ordinary conversation now requires discipline. Every interaction with Lucy carries information Eleanor wishes she did not have. Every thought of Edward is changed by the knowledge that he may have already been committed to someone else during the entire time she was developing feelings for him. Marianne's suffering is visible to everyone around her. Eleanor's suffering remains almost completely invisible. Jane Austen does not ask readers to decide which sister experiences greater pain. Instead, she presents two different ways people respond to heartbreak. Marianne expresses everything she feels. Eleanor controls almost everything she feels. Marianne believes that hiding emotion is dishonest because true feelings should be recognized and shared. Eleanor believes that controlling emotion can protect the people around her from unnecessary pain. Both sisters are suffering, but only one of them is receiving comfort. Eventually, the Dashwood women travel to London. For Marianne, The journey represents hope. Willoughby is there, and she believes she will finally have answers. She imagines that his sudden departure was only a misunderstanding. Perhaps his absence was caused by circumstances. Perhaps something happened that she does not yet understand. Perhaps everything between them can return to the way it was. Marianne continues searching for explanations because accepting the alternative would mean accepting that the relationship she believed in may never have existed in the way she imagined. Then she sees Willoughby. The reunion is nothing like Marianne expected. He is polite. He is respectful. He is controlled. But the warmth is gone. The man who once spent hours with Marianne discussing books, music, and nature now speaks to her almost like a stranger. The connection that once seemed effortless has disappeared. His attention moves elsewhere, and his behavior becomes distant. For Marianne, this is one of the most painful forms of rejection. It is not anger. It is not a dramatic confrontation. It is distance. Someone who once appeared completely connected to her now behaves as if that connection barely existed. Marianne cannot understand what has happened. She searches for another explanation because the Willoughby she remembers cannot possibly be the same person standing before her. And in one way, Marianne is correct. There is information she does not know. However, the truth is not the explanation she wants. Willoughby has chosen financial security over the future Marianne believed they would share. His decisions are influenced by his circumstances, his position in society, and the importance of wealth in determining a person's opportunities. The future Marianne imagined disappears. This is where money returns to the center of sense and sensibility, because money has shaped nearly every major event in the novel so far. The Dashwood women lost Norland because of inheritance laws. John Dashwood abandoned his promise to support them because protecting his own wealth became more important. Now Willoughby's romantic choices are also influenced by financial concerns. Marriage in Austen's world is not simply about love. Income matters. Property matters. Inheritance matters. Social position matters. For women especially, marriage can determine security, independence, and the quality of their future. Understanding the financial pressures surrounding marriage does not excuse Willoughby's actions. Austen does not ask readers to ignore the pain he causes Marianne. Instead, she shows the larger system surrounding the characters and the difficult choices created by that world. People are not making decisions in an empty space. Money is always somewhere in the room. Marianne's heartbreak becomes overwhelming because she has connected so much of her happiness to Willoughby. She does not simply lose a person she loves. She loses the future she imagined with him. Her sadness affects her daily life. She struggles with ordinary routines, withdraws from others, and allows her emotional suffering to consume her. This is the danger Elinor feared from the beginning. Marianne did not simply love Willoughby. She trusted her understanding of the relationship completely. She believed that because their connection felt powerful, it must also be permanent. When that certainty collapses, Marianne has almost nothing protecting her from the emotional fall. Meanwhile, Elinor continues carrying her own pain while supporting her sister. She comforts Marianne, watches her health decline, and helps her family through the crisis. At the same time, she continues carrying Lucy Steele's secret. Edward remains unavailable. The future Elinor had quietly imagined appears impossible. Yet almost no one around her realizes how much she is suffering. This contrast becomes one of the central ideas of sense and sensibility. Marianne believes emotion must be expressed to be honest. Elinor believes emotion can be controlled without becoming less genuine. But Austen begins showing the weaknesses of both approaches. Marianne's emotions threaten to overwhelm her completely. Elinor's restraint leaves her carrying enormous pain alone. Neither sister has found balance. Not yet. And the men at the center of their heartbreak are proving more complicated than they first appeared. Willoughby seemed like the perfect romantic hero. He shared Marianne's interests, matched her enthusiasm, and appeared to understand her completely. Now Marianne must question whether charm and shared passions were enough to reveal his true character. Edward seemed quiet, thoughtful, and honorable. Now Elinor must reconcile the man she respected with the secret engagement Lucy revealed. The certainty both sisters once had is beginning to disappear. First impressions are breaking apart. Both Elinor and Marianne are learning one of Austen's most important lessons. Loving someone does not automatically mean understanding them. By this point in the novel, both Elinor and Marianne are forced to confront the painful difference between what they believed and what is actually true. Marianne believed that a deep emotional connection guaranteed a lasting commitment. She believed that because Willoughby seemed to understand her, he must also be someone she could trust completely. But Austen reveals that affection alone does not always reveal a person's character. Elinor faces a different kind of disappointment. She never allowed herself to imagine a dramatic romance with Edward, but she trusted the quiet connection they had developed. She believed his kindness and attention reflected genuine affection. Learning about Lucy Steele's engagement forces Eleanor to question not only Edward's feelings, but also her own ability to understand the people around her. Both sisters have relied on their own interpretations of love. Both discover that interpretation is not the same as truth. This is one of the reasons Sense and Sensibility remains such a powerful novel. Austen is not simply telling a story about romantic disappointment. She is exploring how people create beliefs about others based on incomplete information. People do not always fall in love with who someone truly is. Sometimes they fall in love with who they believe that person to be. Marianne's heartbreak forces her to examine the danger of allowing emotion to become certainty. Her feelings were real. Her love was real. Her pain is real. Austen never suggests that Marianne's emotions are foolish. The problem is not that Marianne feels deeply. The problem is that she assumes feeling deeply means she understands completely. Eleanor's journey reveals a different challenge. Her strength comes from patience, judgment, and emotional control. She protects others by keeping her own suffering private. However, Austen also shows that too much restraint can become its own burden. Eleanor's emotions do not disappear simply because she refuses to display them. She hurts just as deeply as Marianne. The difference is that almost no one knows it. Through the two sisters, Austen presents two incomplete ways of responding to life. A person who follows only emotion may become overwhelmed by disappointment. A person who relies only on restraint may carry suffering alone. The title of the novel does not suggest that sense is superior to sensibility or that sensibility is superior to sense. Instead, Austen asks whether people can learn from both. As the story continues, Marianne's suffering becomes a turning point. Her heartbreak forces her to reconsider the way she has judged others and the way she has understood love. She begins to recognize that strong feelings, while meaningful, do not always provide complete knowledge. Eleanor also faces a change. The burden she has carried quietly begins to reveal the emotional cost of always appearing composed. Her ability to remain calm has protected those around her, but it has also prevented others from recognizing when she needs support. Both sisters are learning that emotional maturity does not mean rejecting feeling or ignoring reason. It means finding balance. The events surrounding Willoughby and Edward also reveal another important theme in Austen's work: the conflict between personal desire and social reality. The characters of Sense and Sensibility do not live in a world where love exists separately from money, reputation, and family expectations. Every romantic decision is influenced by practical concerns. For Marianne, love seemed powerful enough to overcome any obstacle. For Willoughby, practical security becomes more important. For Eleanor, affection must exist alongside responsibility and restraint. For Edward, personal feelings must compete with family expectations and previous commitments. Austen creates characters who are not simply good or bad. They are people shaped by their circumstances, their choices, and their weaknesses. Willoughby is charming, but he is also selfish. Edward is honorable, but he is also trapped by decisions he made before fully understanding their consequences. Marianne is passionate and sincere, but she is also inexperienced. Eleanor is wise and thoughtful, but she also hides too much of herself. Each character reflects a different struggle between what people want and what life allows them to have. By the end of Part 2, the emotional landscape of the novel has completely changed. The romance that appeared most certain has collapsed. The relationship that seemed safest has become uncertain. Marianne, who believed she understood love, must learn that love requires more than intensity. Eleanor, who believed she understood Edward, must face the possibility that even careful judgment has limits. The sisters have lost the futures they imagined, but they have also begun a process of growth. Their pain is not the end of their stories. It is the beginning of their understanding. In the next part of Sense and Sensibility, Marianne's transformation begins. Eleanor's patience is tested further, and both sisters discover that people are often more complicated than first impressions suggest. Jane Austen's message is not that the heart should be ignored or that reason should control everything. Instead, she shows that true maturity comes from allowing both the mind and the heart to grow together. Thank you for listening to Small Books.